I know we stand between you and more food and drinks, which is never a good place to be, but we will hopefully inspire you, and we have a wonderful panel here to kind of welcome you and center you in this first day of the in-person sessions at Fine. This is actually my third summit. It's every 2 years, so this is my third summit, and I always look forward to this opportunity to connect with like-minded practitioners of food systems and agriculture and the food industry. I feel like it's my people. You're my people, and I hope you all feel that way too. My name is Juli Stelmazyk, and I will be helping to moderate today's session, it will be brief. It'll be 30 minutes. I serve as the Director of Food Strategy for Rhode Island, where I help to support implementation of our state's food plan. We are one of 18 states across the country that has a state food plan. Ours is called Relish Rhody, and it was launched in 2017. And it includes goals towards local food resiliency, food security, wasted food reduction, and thinking about our local food economy and ways that we can work towards long-term sustainable economic development. I also I've served for 2 years as Fine's network, a member of Fine's Network Advisory Council, which I am told qualifies me to welcome you to the summit on behalf of the Fine staff and the steering committee. Yes.
You can clap, clap. Thank you.
The conference theme, hopefully you all know, is community, capital U-N-I-T-Y, and it really couldn't be more relevant this week. Hopefully you've built some community out in your field trips today, and particularly here in Rhode Island this week. We are not only thrilled to be the host location for the Fine Summit, but earlier this week, Farm Fresh and Hope in Maine, in this same space, hosted a tabletop food show with over 300 buyers and local food makers. This is also Rhode Island's Quahog Week, so we are celebrating the Quahog. Who knows what a Quahog is? Okay, now we know.
Rhode Island, though.
That's our clam, the Rhode Island clam, and maybe the New England clam. And it's also Kelp Week here in Rhode Island. So don't let anyone tell you nothing grows in April. We got plenty of fresh local food. And I think this is what makes Rhode Island and New England great is really the partnerships and collaborations. And believe it or not, this is kind of a typical week in Rhode Island. There's lots going on in our food system. So tonight we are joined by USDA Agriculture, Marketing, and Regulatory Program Deputy Undersecretary Mae Wu.
Yay, Mae!
Who will also be performing a song.
Yeah.
And Raffini, the Youth Programs Director of Southside Community Land Trust.
Southside!
Yeah. A 40-year-old food justice and urban farming organization that helps people in their community achieve greater food security by helping people grow food, training new and beginning farmers, and educating people about nutrition, agriculture, and the environment. So we're going to just kind of have a discussion between the three of us, and the hope with this moment was to really think about the role of food systems and the farm-to-institution work that we all intersect at a national, a state, and a hyper-local level here in Providence. So we'll kind of be asking each other questions. So I'm going to start with our Deputy Undersecretary, Mae, who I just briefly want to introduce. So prior to joining the USDA, you served as the Senior Director at the Natural Resource Defense Council, helping to lead the organization's health and food work. You were also a member of the Environmental Protection Agency's Pesticide Program, Dialogue Committee, and its National Drinking Water Advisory Council. Are these all acronyms we should learn as well? Yeah, okay. So my question for you is, why is the regional and local focus so important to the USDA?
Well, thank you, Julie and Raffini, and thanks to all of y'all. I'm just super excited to be here and to see everybody coming together. I think some of y'all probably heard from our undersecretary, but local and regional food systems really is a priority for our secretary and for the administration because, I mean, it's no surprise to anybody in this room, but our food system was a little brittle. And I think the rest of America woke up to that during COVID. And so we've had a lot of resources that came from Congress for us to find ways to make our food system healthier, more equitable, more resilient. And a major pillar of that is improving our local and regional food systems, because that's where you're going to build in that resilience, and that's where you're going to be able to find people who are able to pivot quickly in times of crisis, who are able to, find a producer here who usually goes somewhere else, and, just really interesting things come out of local and regional food systems. So that is the really important part of what we do, and a lot of the work that I've spent the past 2.5 years now, since I joined the administration, working on is what can we do to build these up. So I think y'all are familiar with a lot of them. Our LAMP programs that we added a lot of extra funding to it, especially for farm to institution, because we really want to give farmers and producers and businesses like extra options and new ways of finding stable and consistent markets so that they can continue to thrive. Because a really other important part of what we want to do is to keep the wealth in the community, and that's what local and regional food systems will do, and it'll help rebuild up rural economies and create more opportunities for producers, for consumers, for everybody throughout the entire food chain. So some of the other programs we've done that y'all may be familiar with, and I know we have some of the partners here, is the local food procurement, local food purchase assistance, LFPA. I'm just gonna do all acronyms, LAMP, LFPA, RFSP, we all know them. So the LFPA, I've heard that Rhode Island is actually like a beacon of how well it can go. And just today, I know, I'll step back, and our undersecretary came back in June here at Farm Fresh to announce the award that Rhode Island had received. And just today, we just signed the agreement to add another more than $1 million to LFPA for Rhode Island. This is the best part of my job, when I get to give people money. So, that's almost $1.8 million just to Rhode Island to help, your local producers find local communities that need that support. So it's just, all sorts of programs there that, I think that is really, for us, as we think about how do we transform our food system, local and regional is really the way that we're gonna do that. So really great, and excited to see how thriving it is here, and that y'all can be a great example for it here in New England. So with that, can you tell me a little bit more about, like, here in New England, how are the states working together, and what are y'all doing to, like, what's the success, what's the secret sauce that's making it work so well?
Thank you, and I just want to say, it's been interesting for us all to watch the new programs coming out of the USDA, and I always say, I never thought that I would see food systems transformation, that language coming out of the USDA, so we're really grateful for all the funding that's available to us. I wish the applications were like a little bit easier, but we'll keep working on those. So thank you for your question. I guess I want to say two quick examples about some of the ways that Rhode Island at a state level is thinking about investing in our local food system and long-term food security, and then maybe more like at a regional level. So one of the big ways that we're trying to invest is in helping to build the capacity of producers to grow, produce, process, distribute more food. It's so wonderful that we're sitting here at Farm Fresh, because Farm Fresh is one example of that critical food infrastructure that we talk about. Farm Fresh has done an amazing job. I'm looking over at Jesse, the director. Farm Fresh has done such an amazing job on building those relationships with institutions in particular, which is complicated. It's difficult. You have dining directors and chefs that want to buy local, but they don't always have the ability to make that, they're not going to go and pick up at the farm. So being able to have that aggregator is really important. So the state has invested, the Commerce Department in particular has invested tax credits and economic incentives in facilities like this, as has the USDA. and Southside Community Land Trust, you have a new farm-to-market food processing hub that's connecting your growers, which are mostly small growers, with markets and value-add products. So these are the ways I think that I'm excited to see at a state level us putting investment into infrastructure and letting the growers and the people doing the work do their job. And then at a regional level, I also am so lucky to participate in another acronym, NEFNI, which is the New England Feeding New England project. So this is a project that was funded by the RFSP in the past. And this brings together folks like myself and food policy councils across the New England states to actually work together towards regional resiliency. We know that in places like Rhode Island and Connecticut, and even Massachusetts or Eastern Mass, there's more consumers than producers. And up in Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire, of course, there's more production. So how can we think more regionally about our targets? And one of the ways that we're doing that is we're trying to work towards some baseline metrics. So we're all working on a local food count to just understand where are we right now in our local food production and consumption, so we can actually be realistic about, can we get to 30 by 30 or 50 by 60? So I feel really lucky to be part of that work. Okay, and so thank you for the question. Raffini, I have a question for you. So, we're speaking at these national and state levels, but the reality is all of us know this work happens on the ground. It happens with organizations and businesses in communities, in cities and towns. So can you tell us about your work at a local level and how you think about food systems change through your role, and what are you excited about?
Well, as I said, I am the director of the youth programs at Southside Community Land Trust, and one of our models is we help people grow food. That is so important. This is like the best job in my whole life, because I get to help young people, and we get to put our hands in the dirt, as some people call it soil, but I like the dirt. I like the fact that we're able to plant stuff. Now, we have the youth come in, so our program starts in the spring, and we go through the summer. We do a fall and winter as well, but it's more academic. But what we do in the spring is the youth that stay with us throughout the fall and the winter from the year before, we go into the greenhouse and they plant those seeds. They plant those seeds that are going to grow in their garden later. So not only do they get to harvest food, they get to plant the seed, watch that grow, and then we share it with the community. One of the things I'm really excited about is we have some new neighbors. We have about 300 new people that are going to be living in the community within about 2 weeks. A big apartment complex is built right across the street from where our garden is. So a couple of years ago, when we were in the thick of COVID, we had all this food. The youth used to take some home, but not most 14 to 16-year-olds are trying to take a bag of kale home. I had to show them how good a kale smoothie was, and then they could get with that. So even though they were taking it home, we still had a lot of food. Food that used to be taken to the farmer's market. We used to actually do a thing with Renaissance Church. We used to, after services there on Sunday, we would hold a farmer's market. And they would come and buy the food and everything, and it was great, because they were getting fresh food. And I know they were doing it out of the kindness of their heart. There was probably a whole lot more farmers markets they could have gone to. But, so now here we are with this abundance of food because the church is closed and other places are closed. And I sat down with the youth and I said, well, what are we going to do? And they said, why don't we go out and introduce ourselves? So we went out and door knocked. Yes, the old-fashioned way. We knocked on people's doors and introduced ourselves, told them about our program and what we were doing, and asked them if they would like some food. So once a week, we would come out of that garden with bags. Everyone would have big bags of carrying like collard greens, kale greens, eggplant, garlic, onions, and bring it to the community. Tomatoes too, can't forget the tomatoes. And we would bring it out to people. And When we knocked on the doors, it was one of the kids' jobs to look around to see how many children were there. And people who had more children than the other person would get extra food in their bags. We made sure we took care of people and developed this relationship. And we have a good relationship with all of the people now, which wasn't there before I got there, and I'm so glad that I sat down with the youth and we were able to talk about this. I was an educator for 25 years, and I retired. I actually walked away from the system because it is broken. And when I walked away, I was home for 2 years trying to figure out what I was going to do, working on other stuff, and I got the call from Southside Land Trust. I love the Land Trust. I've been a member for over 30 years, and now I'm working there. I've been an employee for 4 years now, and I am loving it, and I love the fact that we look out for community, and we take care of our community, and we're feeding them. And over the last 2 years, we have partnered with 3 elderly centers, and we are helping them grow. As a matter of fact, we will be out there. My crew right now is at St. Martin de Porres, and we're working with Higher Ground, St. Martin de Porres, and John Hope in helping them to grow food for themselves. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we can grow stuff now, and it's after Mother's Day. A rule of thumb is after Mother's Day, you can plant anything. Right now, you can actually plant collard greens, kale, peas, and lettuce, all kinds of lettuce. But after Mother's Day, you can plant anything because Mother will take care of it. Mother Earth will keep it warm and toasty so it can grow nice and big, and you can harvest it and help feed your family. We take care of her, and she takes care of us.
Thank you, Raffini. So what I'm hearing is relationships, right? You on the ground, you build trust with people
Absolutely.
in the community, and that's where you start. And bringing them food is such a great way to start, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Raffini and Mae, for taking the time. This is just a little snapshot, and we wanted to show the way that community works at these different stages. And I hope you all make really great connections at the summit. I personally am so happy to be in person. It's really nice to see your eyes and talk to you and hug you. So I look forward to meeting more of you in the next day. And I am now going to introduce Chef Matthew Thompson, who is the Chief Culinary Officer. Is that an official CCO? I like that. He is a fellow Fine Network Advisory Council member, and he'll tell us about the meal.
Thank you, Julie. Good evening, everyone. I'd also like to welcome you. We're very excited. We've been preparing this meal for months. We've been working in collaboration with the Farm Fresh team, the team at Commonwealth Kitchen, and of course the Harvest Table team to source all the ingredients to come up with the menu. We're really excited to be here tonight. I hope you're enjoying the meal. Our approach with tonight's meal was really to celebrate global flavors with local and sustainable ingredients. And I'm pleased to say if you scan the QR code on the buffet tables, you'll actually be able to see all the partners. We have over 100 partners that we work directly with to bring the meal. Thank you, yes. And thank you to those partners. We really, from a culinary perspective, enjoy working with these ingredients. I mean, it's down to like the seasonings that we use on the chicken, the salt that we use to season the, you'll be meeting many of the vendors as you walk through the tables today and talking with them. They've got a lot of great information, so we were really excited about that opportunity. We also thought very intently around our waste and what happens with leftovers as well. So you'll see that we've got the 3 bins out, and we ask for your participation in helping us to think about compost and recycling and those sorts of things. We also are working with a food donation partner, so any surplus food that is left over from today's event will be donated to food insecurity. We're working with a partner for that as well. So we've thought very intently about that process. So again, there's too many people for me to thank, but please scan that QR code and support those local partners that work so closely with us. I'd like to thank the team at Farm Fresh for their collaboration and partnership, all of our Commonwealth Kitchen network partners that worked with us as well, and certainly the Harvest Table team who's been doing the yeoman's work of putting this food system together for you tonight. So thank you, please enjoy, and do I turn it back to Julie? Please eat, thank you.
Bon appetit.